think it's been quite encouraging for the French player, or players, sorry. Starting on their right, while there are a lot of Prussians appearing, the Prussians themselves are very concerned. They are basically compacted into a small area, and facing them are a number of the Emperor's children, some 12-pounder guns, in a great position to open up on them. So they're quite worried about taking large numbers of losses. Moving round, you've actually got the Prussians have linked up now with the Allied right and Vandeleur's cavalry. So that there's now one Allied force in very much an L shape, with the Prussians being the very short L with everything packed in there. Moving down, the centre is still holding, but is getting more and more pressured. In fact, before I move on to the centre, Papelotte has fallen to the French. Although Vandeleur's cavalry have resulted in some of the infantry having to form squares, so the defence is stalled there. As I said, in the centre, the pressure is now really, really on the Allies. While they've repulsed some of the French, there is now the thunder of hooves as cavalry are starting to move up towards them through some of the gaps. And as you know, cavalry and infantry together, that's a very, very good combination from the perspective of doing damage. Then we go down to the far side. The French are now starting to put their weight on the Allied right flank. There's now a significant build-up there. The cavalry have moved to the centre, so the British cavalry down there are in a very nice position. They can be sweeping up. Whether the French have even noticed them, I don't know. So, again, let's do a little walk around and possibly pick up a couple more bits and pieces, because I'm not sure what's going to change by the time we get round these. So I think what we'll do, we'll start this time on the with the Prussians. So
over 1750. I've been reading that wrong. I thought they needed to get to 17.
It is. It's been a long day. Yeah, so up to 1750.
Perfect. Plus one. Ready for firing?
Plus one more
because he's in a column.
That's a plus.
Yeah, any kind of column.
So that's fine, I suppose.
Are you ready for firing?
So, as you can see, Plastois is definitely quite a nasty battle going on. Prussians are moving forward slowly, but as we said, space is probably their biggest issue. So interestingly, the French seem to have pulled up some cavalry to deal with Vandeleur's troops. I think that's going to turn into a bit of a stalemate. It looks as well like the Allies are trying to go back into Papelotte, but I don't think they're going to manage it. What I can see just past them are the cavalry from the French starting to move up the ridgeline. Look at the sunken limb, which is the crest of the ridge. You can start seeing there's a lot more French flags in there now. So, yeah, if we had music, I think Vive l'Empereur would be being played a fair bit, yeah? More cavalry there moving up. Now, I don't know if the plan with those is to bring them to their left, swinging onto the table we just looked at, or whether they're there to fight the Prussians. My guess, looking towards the Prussians, and the lack of forces is they will be swinging to their right to deal with the Prussians. Although I can see is a column of multiple columns of cuirassiers going round the Grand Battery to form up against the Prussians.
Sorry.
And the old guard look like they're deploying into the centre now, getting ready to move forward. Obviously they've got the cavalry ahead of them yet. I wonder if we'll see a more coordinated attack than was seen on the day when they just threw the cavalry forward, and then it was all down to the old guard. I don't know. I'm going to see what happens with that.
Yeah. Marching that way.
That's interesting watching that. There's a lot of the French infantry are moving to their right. It's almost as if they're ignoring the Allied right flank, which could be interesting. I mean, there is more because obviously with the gap between tables it makes it a little bit hard to tell, but we have got all of these. What it means is, even if they are going to be the main attack, the pulling off of some of the troops really means that that attack's going to be delayed even more. So I don't see that attack with any extra troops hitting home much before pretty much the end of today, I would have thought. I'll have to pay attention to that one. This is the interesting thing is, because I'm doing the walk around each turn, I'm getting a better view of the battle than many of the players. It was interesting talking to them at lunchtime as I was walking around, and they were going, "Oh, that's what's going off here. I hadn't realised that." And it really is a shock when you realise how blinkered you are, even just playing with the helicopter view, and you can walk around freely. Realistically, you are seeing so little of the battle when you're involved. Because I'm not playing, I've got that chance to move around, which other people don't get. So let's have a look down from the view from the Allied side. Even as the attacks start to develop from the French there, that's a lot of Allied troops. And when you realise as well that many of these are the Guards, that's going to be a lot for them to take. So let's carry on moving down. So we've got the good reserve formation there. And we've actually got two units which are probably the most vital in the entire British Army. The mugs of tea. They're vital. So let's have a look at the critical rig.
I think that might be a sound tactical move. I think so. Nothing says more tactical than standing in square behind your enemy.
That does not look a good position to be in, having to form square behind the Allied front line. I think those French troops may have bitten off a bit more than they can chew.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not in close combat right here, so people shooting.
I think it's no sense.
Oh, not finished all the We've still got. Don't you get to attack the cavalry there in the square? I get to do back.
The inability of the British cavalry.
So, my instinctive thoughts for this turn. I think the crisis in the centre has actually passed. And it is interesting, I end up having to change my opinion as I'm actually going round on some of these. Just shows how this isn't scripted. I hate to think back when I look back at some of my previous sort of thoughts as to what's going on, or how inaccurate they've been. So I think the centre's going to hold. Yes, it's now dropped. They've effectively dropped back. They've lost a line of troops. They're into the reserves there. Yeah, that's going to be difficult. I think the Prussians have achieved the biggest goal, which was to draw off a lot of the French, including a fair bit of the Guard. They did in reality pull off some of the Guard, so that's fairly realistic. The slow attack on the left French flank, that's surprising. I would have thought that would be a bit more vigorous, and it almost feels like every time they move forward, some of it moves away. So, yeah, we'll have a look at that next turn, see where that one goes. So, I'll be back shortly with the next episode.